What's up? In today's video I'm gonna show you how I made this cool looking Star Wars Sith Holocron Diorama. So let's not waste any more time and jump right into it. So I saw this cool Sith Holocron model by Harshi32 on Thingiverse and I thought to myself that I could make a diorama. Definitely check out his model. The link is in the description. I used his inside pattern because I think that looks pretty good and fits the whole Star Wars theme. So first of all I started modeling my holocron in Inventor, and after a bit of modeling I came up with this design. So I started by printing it out on my Anycubic Photon Zero. I started with the inside pyramid and I used Anycubic clear green resin because that is transparent and light can shine through it. So after the print was done I washed and cured it on my Anycubic Wash and Cure 2.0, and then I headed over to my desk and started rendering it. For the rendering part I mixed up some black paint with some water and brushed it on the pyramid so that all the corners are soaked in this black paint water. Next I took a paper towel and made sure to wipe it off really good so there is just black water in the deep corners because that adds a lot of depth to the model. Next I started highlighting it. For that I used a paintbrush and dipped it in some white paint. Then I made sure to wipe it out really good so there's just a teeny tiny bit of paint left in the brush, and then I gently brushed over the whole holocron and that leaves this highlighting effects on the edges. Next I made a frame and a base plate for the holocron. I printed that on my Anycubic 2 and I used Anycubic gray resin because in my opinion this resin makes a great foundation if you want to paint something, so that was my way to go. After the printing was done I washed and cured it and brought it outside for painting. I used some golden spray paint to paint it and I think that looks really awesome. To be honest, the spray paint turned out so well. It has this metallic shine to it and I'm really happy with the results. Then I was ready to assemble the holocron. For that I used just a bit of super glue to put everything together and it looks really good. Next I modeled the whole base of the diorama. I used Inventor again and then took it over to Fusion 360 to emboss a stone texture onto the base. That may sound pretty complicated, but actually it's pretty easy. I just took the stone texture into Inkscape and exported it as a DFX, and then I embossed it in Fusion 360 with the emboss tool, and yeah, that looks pretty good on my PC. So I printed it out on my Anycubic Predator in white PLA, and the result looks really good. I didn't expect it to turn out that well. Next I made some rocks. I made them by pouring plaster into this silicon rock mold I got laying around. But if you don't have such a rock mold, you can also use tinfoil. First you form a ball out of the tinfoil and then you gently even it out again so you get a plane with a lot of edges in it, and then you can pour the plaster into that as well, and that also makes a really good rocks texture. I left the leftover plaster in this little mixing container because I need that later on. So now the rocks are dry, I can take them out of this mold, and I crushed the leftover plaster in the mixing container with a hammer. So I got this plaster gravel, which is great for creating a stony gravel surface. Next I took the base, covered it in super glue and dipped it into my gravel mixture so that I got this gravel texture on the base plate. I also did this on top of the base. This is actually not necessary because there will be plaster after all, but the plaster needs something to stick to, and so I create really good surface for the plaster to hold on. After that was dry, I started making the top of the base. For that I mixed some plaster to secure the rocks onto the base plate. Also I cut a little template out of cardboard which matches the base of the holocron so that I have a reference where to place it, and so I continue to design my base. I like to model rocks with a bit more dry plaster because in my opinion you can model rocks a lot better with that. Also if you have plaster squeezing out here and there, you can use rocks and press them onto the plaster so that they leave their texture. I did this as well and this turns out really good. After I let everything dry for 24 hours, I came back painting, and for the base coat I used some gray paint, mixed that with a little bit of black to get a even darker gray, and brushed it all over the base. When that was dry, I wetted it again. For this I again mixed some water with black paint and brushed it all over the base, and again made sure to wipe everything away with this paper towel, so the dark water just stays in the deep edges, and that really creates a realistic look. Next is my favorite part when it comes to modeling rocks and dioramas, the highlighting. For this I used the same method as for the holocron. I dipped the brush into some white paint and wiped it out so that there's almost none paint left in the brush, and I gently brushed over everything, and that leaves this highlighting effects on the edges of the rocks, and it looks so good in real life, even better than on camera. I'm really happy how this turned out. The next step was to make the electronics. For that I designed a battery housing in Inventor and printed it out in gray resin. Here you can see the schematics. I use a reed switch for activating the LED. Why? You will see later on. Next I drilled a hole into the base, fed the electronics through, and glued the holocron tight by using a bit of hot glue. I also used hot glue to glue the reed switch to the inside of the base. Next I put a glass dome over, and with that everything is done. In my opinion it looks so good, it turned out way better than I expected. And if you're a true user of the Dark Frost and you come really close to the diorama, you can see the holocron lighting up and telling you his secrets. No, but honestly the secret has to do with the reed switch. I wear a ring on my finger with a little magnet on the bottom, and this magnet activates the reed switch, and that then activates the LED so the LED lights up. I hope you liked this video. If so, feel free to like, share and subscribe here on my channel. Here you find more videos. So have a nice day and see you soon.